Just the idea that Travis Kalanick took his girlfriend at the time, Gabby Halsworth, who has actually performed at your conference. She's a violinist, and a group of Uber managers, the rest of them male, except for one marketing manager I believe was female, to an establishment that, at best, I mean, there's a range of different types of hostess bars, but treats the hostesses in the bar as objects. They have numbers, and guys can pick a woman to sit with them and sort of flirt with them during the night. Your take on this?
Well, bad judgment, obviously. I mean, you're just in the beginning. Now, just to be fair, I don't really want to be that fair on these kind of things, but this is super common. I did talk to a dozen tech executives about these kind of outings, and they happen a lot across Korea when people are visiting there. That said, you know, it just is one of those things. Again, it's a question of judgment, and right now, in the light of what other things that have happened, it looks even worse. I can probably uncover lots of people who have done this, but Uber just can't afford these kind of stories, and that's the real problem that we're dealing with.
I believe a big part of the issue, Walter, was that Gabby Halsworth, Travis Kalanick's ex-girlfriend, said that she wouldn't have spoken up about this incident if another Uber executive hadn't tried to silence her about this incident if she were asked about it, if it came out in the press. What is your take on the likelihood of this causing additional problems for Travis Kalanick as the investigation continues into the company?
Well, I agree with Cara. I mean, these things happen and they're endemic, especially in a technology culture, but also, I would say, you know, among hedge funds in Wall Street, where there's a lot of testosterone and people think they have to do things like this. And, you know, it's a lack of maturity in many ways. And that gets to the larger question you just asked, which is, a company like Uber, it needed that drive of a person like Travis who could get this thing going and just push it into communities that were resistant. But like any great startup, it probably needs, you know, also some more mature leadership. And I think that's why Travis has been pushing to bring somebody in, just the way the Google folks famously brought in Eric Schmidt for a while when they felt they needed it.
Cara, you said just before that Uber cannot afford a story like this at this time. What does that mean? I mean, how do we measure that? Is there any impact on the business or on investors on Uber? It's so hard with such a big private secret company.
Well, there's a lot of stories running around about Uber now. You know what I mean? And each of these, as they come out, it shows, again, bad judgment. It shows a leader not in control. It shows someone who doesn't care about issues around sexism. And so they can't, you know, it's sort of, in a lot of cases, it's probably unfair, some of them, and at the same, it won't matter because people, as I've written before, people assume that whatever they do it with bad intention. And so that no one's going to catch them a break, kind of thing, in terms of anything. And so, and obviously when a startup starts, they're very messy affairs. Most startups aren't run very well. Most startups have issues around HR. Most startups have disgruntled employees and things like that. So I think that's really the problem here more than anything, is that they can't make one mistake, and startups make mistakes.
Walter, I'm wondering, how closely do you expect Silicon Valley to work with Jared Kushner? There were eyebrows raised when he was included in meetings with the president, then the president-elect even, earlier on. But I guess the White House gets to say this because they have some of these CEOs in the past. How do you think this is going to work?
Well, I think it should work. I do think that tech executives, whatever they may think of the rest of Trump's agenda, you know, certainly have to be kind of appalled at the way the federal government is still stuck in sort of 1.0 operating systems. And, you know, people have been trying to do this for years. I mean, I can remember Al Gore's reinvention of government operations. But the Trump administration probably has more of an opportunity because they're willing to kind of blow up the bureaucracy. That's what they really want to do. I think, you know, they probably should stop short of blowing everything up, but there really does need to be a shakeup of the bureaucratic way the federal government operates.
And Cara, I'm wondering, do you think tech is going to continue to be willing to participate in these things? Their fingerprints will be, I suppose, on whatever comes out of this office. If there are federal agencies or programs eliminated, how do they stay engaged with the government but not get implicated in things that they might not agree with?
Well, they can't, obviously. If they're going to cooperate, they're going to be part of the solution and part of the problem if there are problems. And so What's interesting about this is Trump has not renamed anybody to the Office of Science and Technology, any of those things. And actually, it's gone from, I think, 100 and some people to 0. So he's got to restaff this area of innovation. It's just a new name on that thing, because President Obama had a lot of that stuff going on. And previous to that, other administrations did. And this one just happens to be run by Jared Kushner with a new fancy name, American Innovation. They tend to use that name a lot. I think it'll be interesting to see which ones cooperate if it's more than just sort of window dressing. They did put Jared there because I think Jared Kushner is someone a lot of people in tech feel they can deal with, who's reasonable, that he has some business background. And so I think he's probably the right person to put there. We'll see if they actually do anything or whether it's just another one of these committees that talks about changing the way government does business and then never does, which seems to always happen.
Or, Walter, could even fuel more questions about conflict of interest. I mean, I think it'll be interesting to watch how these business leaders advise the president on key domestic issues that also have an impact on their bottom lines.
Yeah, I do think conflict of interest in a broader sense is one of the stenches affecting Washington these days. And it does come down to, Trump and his family to some extent. I think it's really important, as Cara said, to have somebody like Jared, Kushner, who's very smart, working on these things. But you kind of want more of a distancing and devolution from all of the family businesses, rather than him running around to every Trump hotel every weekend and people doing business deals overseas for the family. So I think it really does start within the White House if you're going to raise the standard of conflict of interest these days.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.